Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be revealing a Pokemon that several top competitors kept a secret prior to the Pokemon Go World Championships, and that is Shadow Dusknoir. And Shadow Dusknoir ended up being piloted by Lyle Jeffs to a 5th place finish. Additionally, in the Go Battle League, a trainer recently hit rank 1 in the world on the Go Battle League leaderboards in the Great League with Shadow Dusknoir, so people are realizing just how strong it is. If you want to try Dusknoir for yourself, I'd recommend trying Kaie's team, but today I'm going to be testing it out with a Fortress and Lantern backline. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Shadow Dusknoir. In game number 1, we have the battle of the Duskull Evolutions Dusknoir versus Shadow Dusclops. Dusclops will have a slight pacing advantage, but Dusknoir's Astonishes just absolutely eviscerate this Pokemon. Here I'm going to overfarm, playing to the CMP tie, denying their second Shadow Punch unless they give me their shield back. And now, as Dusknoir, I'm very happy to shield and just fully farm down. My opponent does not want to concede the farm down. There's going to be a save switch into Tinkaton. Tinkaton immediately under threat from Dynamic Punch. That's going to be shielded, and now I get to bring out Fortress. My goal here in sending out Fortress is to force my opponent to use their bad move, which is Bulldoze. They do end up going for a Play Rough first, as Play Rough does do more damage than Bulldoze, even though Play Rough is resisted. But my goal basically here is they either have to go for Bulldoze for neutral damage, which is an extremely inefficient move, or they can throw Play Rough, but it's going to be resisted. I still haven't thrown yet because I would love for them to switch out at some point, as my energy will be more useful elsewhere. They send in the Dusclops. I Sand Tomb just to ensure that I can get the farm down and still leave with a Rock Tomb loaded. Back in comes the Tinkaton, so I quick switch over to Dusknoir, make the Dynamic Punch, and that's going to be game over for the Tinkaton, as Dynamic Punch will pick up the knockout. In the back is Tentacruel, a very cool pick, but unfortunately, Tentacruel's not going to be able to do anything against Lantern. So I will bring in Lantern. Lantern is on Water Gun, as Water Gun gives it way more flexibility in this meta compared to Spark. They are an Acid Spray Tentacruel, and it didn't really matter what moveset they had, they just do not have a way of beating this Lantern, because Lantern will tank whatever they throw, get to a Thunderbolt, and take the win. They go for the Scald, it's just too little too late, and now it is Thunderbolt time. Thunderbolt into the Tentacruel is going to force my opponent to resign the match. Hopping into the next match, and it's a tough lead for Dusknoir, staring down Shadow Forigator. I quick switch into Fortress, as Fortress will do great against Forigator. Forigator will fire off the Hydro Cannon, but I never have to respect the first. I can always just play zeros here. My opponent chooses to stay in, so it appears that they are pretty weak in the back to Fortress, because they have nothing they can switch in. They're just going to shield once, and then look to massively overfarm with the Forigator, and I'm extremely okay with letting the Fortress go. I was able to get through most of Forigator's health bar, and now I can bring in Lantern. I'm expecting Forigator to bank a move and pivot, so when it doesn't, I know that I'm in trouble. That means my opponent has very favorable alignment for my Mons in the back, and that's the only reason my opponent wouldn't save that energy. So they fire off Hydro after Hydro. Lantern just does not care. What do they have? It's Credilli. I send in Dusknoir. In the back is Mandibuzz, but this is actually fine for Dusknoir. Not only am I up energy, but I'm up a shield, so Dusknoir will now be able to make this Mandibuzz's life very uncomfortable. Dynamic Punch does not two-shot, but I can Astonish it into a range where a second Dynamic will be lethal. So I'm just going to be shielding everything. I'm not throwing Dynamic yet because it doesn't knock out. There's not a point in throwing a move before it will KO, because my opponent is never going to be shielding. So I need to get as much residual energy as I can, and now Dynamic will be knocking my opponent out. Mandibuzz will get KO'd. Back in comes Credilli, and Credilli is so far behind. The guaranteed win con is double Shadow Punch. My opponent calls the bait, which is a really nice play, but if they got a Dynamic Punch shield right, then I couldn't get another move, and that's what I need to win this game. So here I farm up, switch at the last second, and snipe with the Lantern. Surf into Credilli will get them low, and at that point they just don't have enough health to take home the win. We move to the next match, and it's a pretty nice lead for Shadow Dusknoir leading into Stunfisk. Stunfisk has a ton of bulk. Typically as the Dusknoir, I would like to play the 0-1s. I will go straight Dynamic Punch, because if I land a Dynamic Punch in the 0-1s, I can farm down before they're able to make a third Mud Bomb. And that's exactly what I want, exiting down a shield, but with a massive amount of energy that I can use to get that shield right back, because Ghost Fighting is unresisted by any good Pokemon. My opponent denies me the farm down with a save switch to Jump Bluff, and I'm always just going to bring in Fortress. Fortress, I'm going to shield the first. I'm going to go down 2 shields, but if it's the acrobatics, then I should be in a pretty nice position. They end up going for an Aerial Ace, and that makes me think that they're Aerial Ace Energy Ball. If they are, then they basically can't do any damage to the Fortress. They end up no shielding, which tells me they are Aerial Ace. They know they can't do any kind of damage here, and Fortress exits this matchup incredibly healthy. Their Stunfisk is very, very low. They're going to bring out the Stunfisk, and I'm just going to look for farm because I know I will get to debuff whatever they have in back with a Rock Tomb. They go for the Mud Bomb. They're going to have to switch. They send out for it, and this is actually tricky. I'm not going to go for debuffs on attack. I'm actually going to go for debuffs on defense with Sand Tomb because I'm going to need my water guns to do as much damage as they possibly can. So I go for Sand Tomb number 2. I do get KO'd, and now I bring in Lantern, and this is going to get interesting. I do have a Shadow Punch banked, but I'm not going to survive the Sucker Punches, so I'll need to make a play. So I switch into Dusknoir and get the CMP sack swap. Not only do we CMP tie with a Shadow Punch, which forces the final shield, but we catch the Trailblaze. No amount of undercharge will make that not KO. And now I can just win. They fail the catch. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next game, and it's the Battle of Ghost Types, Dusknoir into Giratina. Dusknoir does win the 2s. It's a very easy catch for my opponent to do one Shadow Claw and switch. Waiting a turn doesn't work, so I just predict the catch, but they stay in, and that is a misplay by me, because now I'm forced to go down 2 shields. I should have just done 1 and throw, but the fear of a catch meant that I did not. In comes Credilli, and this is very good for me, because I have a Fortress, and I should be able to get my shields back. Here, I will overfarm quite significantly and bait with the Shadow Punch because if I get the shield, then I can make one final Shadow Punch. This is only neutral damage, but at this point, any amount of damage will be helpful. This Credilli is absolutely loaded, so I will bring in the Fortress. Fortress immediately debuffed by the Rock Tomb, so Rock Tomb will land in the back. They have their own Fortress, and this is very bad news for me, as Lantern does not like dealing with Fortress. Fortress's bug bite damage is just too oppressive. They're up energy, so they apply a Rock Tomb debuff as well. And look at my Lantern, it's already into the red health. I'm taking so much damage from this Pokemon. Surf is going to land. My opponent could Sand Tomb, but they're really smart. They decide not to because they know that their win con is farming with the Credilli. I need my switch timer to be up so I can save the Lantern. I'm clicking the switch button, but it doesn't come up in time. I can't save the Lantern. If I could have saved the Lantern, I win the game, but I was spam pressing it. It just didn't come up in time, and we lose on 1 HP as Credilli KOs Fortress with a Rock Tomb. Hopping into the next match, it's the Battle of Shadows, Shadow Dusknoir into Shadow Jumpluff. Obviously, tanking an Aerial Ace would be fine, but the threat of an Acrobatics is quite worrisome. So I will put up the shield, opponent will bait with the Aerial Ace, and now I will fire off the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch, not going to pick up a knockout here by any means, but it will deal some pretty sizable damage. My opponent makes a very nice catch onto Lapras. They're able to catch the Shadow Punch, but unfortunately, I have one of the hardest counters to Lapras in the game, and that is Fortress. Fortress just absolutely bullies poor Lapras. Lapras can't really do much of anything. Especially with a high rank Fortress, it just makes Lapras' life so uncomfortable. I get a nice overfarm, firing off the Rock Tomb right before their Aria. They can never afford to shield that Lapras, and now they're forced to bring in their final Pokemon, which is Forigator. And I'm able to get a parting gift of a Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb is no shielded. They switch into the Jumpluff, but I get to switch into Lantern. And most Jumpluffs are not on Energy Ball if they're Shadow, which means they're actually walled by the Lantern. So Lantern is going to get a massive Water Gun farm down of that Jumpluff. Normally, Lantern cannot deal with grass types whatsoever, but in this case, it actually works out just fine. Back in comes Forigator. Forigator has to shield everything, so there's no point in ever throwing a Thunderbolt, but I still have quite a bit of health remaining on the Dusknoir. I still have health remaining on the Fortress. There's just no way out for my opponent. I will never let my opponent get a farm down here ever, so once the Lantern doesn't get knocked out, I quick switch into Fortress to waste their energy. In comes Dusknoir, and my opponent will concede the match. We move to the next game, and it's a great lead. Shadow Dusknoir into Fortress. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Marowak. Normally, I see the Marowak Fortress core with Marowak lead, so a bit of an adjustment in strategy from my opponent. I fire off the Shadow Punch instantly because that way I'm able to deny their Mud Slab due to the fact that they are behind by 1 turn. Dusknoir does lose the 2s to Marowak, but the good news for me is that I don't have to stay in. I can just switch into the Fortress. Oh my goodness, they tried for the double up. The greed backfires. In comes Typhlosion, but this is the flexibility of Fortress. I can force a shield with the Rock Tomb. Unfortunately, the attack drop means that I do survive the Incinerate, giving them 60 energy instead of 40, but in comes Lantern to invalidate that energy. Not only is Thunder Punch only neutral, but it is one stage debuffed. Back in comes the Fortress from the start, and I'm just going to look to bank energy on Lantern, switch into the Dusknoir. I was trying to snipe there. I did mistime it there by half a second, but I can just shield up the Rock Tomb, make 2 Shadow Punches, and my opponent has no way of beating Lantern's energy. So I should be in a very comfortable spot. I will get the last second Shadow Punch. This Shadow Punch should be enough, even at -1, to knock out the Fortress. Fortress will get KO'd. In comes Typhlosion, but they just can't knock me out with a Thunder Punch here. So I get to bring in the Lantern. We're outside of Thunder Punch range, so we KO with the Surf, and we take the win. We move to the next match, picking up a very nice lead Shadow Dusknoir into Talonflame. The great thing about being Dusknoir in this matchup is your opponent is guaranteed to have to throw on alignment, so you're always getting free Astonishes. This is because they're now at 80 energy. If they try and throw on good timing, I could just throw another Shadow Punch, so my opponent is forced to throw on alignment. They will give me that free Astonish as they go for the fly, and now I can throw one in the Shadow Punch and just cleanly knock them out. So Shadow Punch into the Talonflame does get shielded. My opponent is going to switch and snipe with a Shadow Giratina. That's a great play from them because I do get that farm down normally as the Dusknoir. So that's a very heads up play there. They snipe down my Dusknoir and now I'm on the back foot. Shadow Sneak, not going to do a ton of damage, but I really need to get any kind of damage onto this Giratina because my Lantern in the back is not going to like dealing with it. Unfortunately, I'm unable to get to the Sand Tomb before they're able to make another move. Shadow Sneak will land, and now it's all up to Lantern to try and close out the game. In the back is going to be Primeape. Primeape builds up to the close combat, but most people don't run it, so I let it go, but it is the close combat. No! Oh my goodness, most Primeapes I see are on Ice Punch, and by disrespecting the close combat, I now do not have the health needed to win this game. As they can force a shield with the Brave Bird, it'll do more than a move from the Giratina, but Giratina has the move loaded. I don't think Dragon Claw will KO, but I think they're just slightly too healthy, and Giratina on 1 HP will secure the win. We move to the next match, another Incinerate user, this time it is Macargo. Macargo has the same issue that Talonflame does, where they always have to throw an alignment. Whether they throw after 3 Incinerates, 4, or 5, they can always get cycle reset by the Dusknoir, and that just makes life very uncomfortable. They save switch Furret, and here, this is very important. Throwing the Dynamic Punch onto the Furret would be a massive, massive mistake. I have a good check to Furret, so wasting energy from Dusknoir would be a huge error. Instead, I can save the energy, bring in the Fortress, and that Fortress is going to get massive farm. My goal as Fortress is to leave with enough to make a move into that Macargo, because Macargo is not going to be a big fan even of a Sand Tomb. In comes the Macargo, I get the Sand Tomb. They can survive this, but it would inflict some solid damage, so we will see a shield. They're looking for a farm down. I will not let that happen, so I combo with the Dusknoir to pressure the final shield. In the back, they're going to have Mandibuzz again on Air Slash, which is the meta moveset. Air Slash Mandibuzz will get a farm down, but not before I should make a second move. It is only going to be the Shadow Punch, but what's Mandibuzz's energy going to do to a Lantern? The answer is absolutely nothing. So now I get to send in Lantern and basically just laugh at the poor Mandibuzz because Mandibuzz can't do anything. Look at that foul play. That damage is just embarrassing. You can do better than that, Mandibuzz. I believe in you. Another foul play. We're still not even in the yellow health. In comes Macargo, and to add insult to injury, we catch the Rock Tomb on our 1 HP Fortress. Say it ain't so, trainer. Lantern farms all the way down. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Dusknoir into Shadow Quagsire. Honestly, I don't see a lot of Shadow Quagsire, so it's a very cool pick from my opponent, but also I don't really know how to play it. I feel like them doing one mud shot and the catch is really obvious, so I predict that they'll go for it, but they don't. Clearly, I need to stop predicting that catch, because my goodness, people are just not going for it, and it's costing me shield advantage. I will fire off the Shadow Punch. They kind of have to let this go here, because if they decide to shield, which they do, I can force either the second shield or alignment with the back-to-back Shadow Punches. My opponent is going to double shield. They're forced to throw energy, and I'm just going to let the Dusknoir go. Shadow Dusknoir definitely did its job, gave me a shield advantage, and now it's up to Fortress to shine. In comes a Clodsire, and I'm just going to look to farm up energy. If at any point they throw instantly, which they do, now I should just be able to switch into the Lantern. So the Earthquake will land. Unfortunately, I do get one turn out of that because my Bug Bite somehow had not registered, and Lantern will hit the field. I'm going to be shielding up everything here. I do not want damage on this Mon. They go for the Sludge Bomb. I'm going to farm up until right before their next move and hope that the Surf will be enough to knock out. Surf into the Clodsire does not KO, but the Water Gun after does, denying their move, and it's another sad Mandibuzz. This is part of why I wanted to put Lantern with the Shadow Dusknoir. It seems like a bit of an unusual pairing at first, but it does a very nice job at shutting down Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Moltres, which are basically two of the only Dark types right now. Thunderbolt into the Rock Tomb combo play means game over for the Mandibuzz. They hang on with a few HP remaining, but it's simply not enough, and we're able to take the win. All in all, I had a ton of fun getting to run Shadow Dusknoir. As you can see from the background, these battles I did while at the Pokemon Go World Championships in Anaheim, California. While the phone service was not always the greatest in the World Championships venue, it was an unbelievably fun weekend, and I really enjoyed this team. I ended up climbing quite a bit, even despite a few games lagging out just due to the fact that it is a brick convention center, but Shadow Dusknoir did end up feeling quite strong. If you want to try out Shadow Dusknoir for yourself, as I mentioned at the start, I'd recommend trying the rank 1 in the world team that I showed in the intro over this team. This team is honestly just a team that I feel fits my playstyle quite well, but I don't know if it would have the same results with anyone trying it, but I think that the rank 1 in the world team is a lot more transferable, where anyone could pick that up, put the Primeape and the Tinkaton in the back, and have pretty nice results, as that way, you're a lot weaker to something like a Talonflame with the rank 1 team, but in that team, you are a lot stronger into a Pokemon like Moltres because you actually do have multiple Sucker Punch resists, whereas this team does not. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.